Good afternoon, parents, and thank you for joining us for this very important webinar, this live webinar. This is Mr. Ian speaking here as the head of secondary, and today I'm joined by three colleagues, Miss Hannah Monk, our head of Key Stage 3, Miss Edward Nutt, the head of Key Stage 4, and Miss Kelsey Doyle, the head of Key Stage 5. Each of these leaders plays a very key role in the development of your children on a day-to-day basis at GEMS Founders School. They each work very closely with the heads of year and your child's form tutor in their respective area of the school, and are very much the engine and the driving force behind the initiative that you're going to learn about today. Today you will hear from each of them, and they will be helping you understand the processes that will be empowering your child in their learning journey. At this stage, I just want to mention that this session is going to be recorded and will be recorded and shared and posted to the relevant channels, communication channels across GEMS Founders School. So should you wish to watch at a later date and couldn't join us live, obviously please feel free to do so. And if you just simply want to recap the session afterwards, you will be able to do that at your own leisure. I also want to say a big thank you to Mr. Mike Jones, the Deputy Head of Secondary. Unfortunately, Mr. Mike cannot be with us this afternoon, but Mr. Mike is also coordinating this project, this initiative with the heads of Key Stage. So I am going to be presenting in his absence, but I just wanted to pass on my thank you to Mr. Mike. You will be aware that you can post questions during this session. I will attempt to answer them accordingly in the chat function, or in the question box function, sorry, along with my colleagues. And we'll also create a list of frequently asked questions that may arise out of this session. We'll put a fact sheet together and then publish that as well, so we can actually address many of your questions through that forum as well. So we can have the next slides, please, Miss Mylene. So today we will be addressing 4 key points. First, we will briefly explore the need to amend some of our processes in school and help you understand why we have developed them. You will then hear from each of the Key Stage leaders about what this will look like in their areas of the school and how it will function, as well as how you can support the school further as parents. And finally, we will identify the specific actions that you can take at home in supporting and empowering your child further. It is vitally important that we work collaboratively to ensure the academic success of all of the learners in our community. And through working together, developing positive and healthy habits at school and home will ultimately ensure the success of all of our children. The feedback and the results that we have received from the recent parent surveys and the different questionnaires that we send out to you as parents demonstrate that around 15 to 20% of our parental community in the secondary school would like to see an improvement in communication, also an improvement in teamwork between home and school, and also the way in which children and parents are informed about the progress that is being made in school. And of course, these are very, very important things that we take into consideration when we look at the feedback that we're receiving. You as parents have also told us that you would like your child's grades to improve and for children to feel more confident with what they are learning in school so that they can achieve those higher outcomes, which of course is very important. And we couldn't agree more with you, and that is why we've invited you here today to learn about our school report and the way we report to children and to parents, and also to introduce you to a new initiative that engages every single learner in the secondary school, and how you as parents play an extremely important, if not vital, role in the success process. So traditionally, school reporting and consultation processes have always centered around a child completing a term or a half term of learning. Parents will then receive a report card, and then they would typically attend a meeting with a teacher to discuss the next steps, which provides parents with approximately 30 minutes of information, face-to-face information per subject across the year. And obviously we agree that that's not enough. So we want to change about this and bring about regular weekly reflective consultations, and are looking to change to a more innovative and empowering model Our vision is to empower all learners to know and understand their strengths and their areas of development, and also to be able to articulate them confidently. This is very important to us. We also want students to be able to tell parents exactly what it is they need to do to improve in any given subject or aspect of school life. We want this to take place on a weekly basis, so that when we do get to our regular parent consultation evenings or sessions, when you do get face-to-face time with teachers or tutors, you and your child are already ready with everything you need to know about their progress. We can then hold much more meaningful conversations. So really, it's a process of repetition and consistent practice. Consistent, purposeful practice. So each week in form time, all children in the secondary school will spend structured time reflecting on their report grades for each of their subjects, along with the feedback that they receive from their teachers, in order to identify their successes and their next steps of development. They will then set meaningful targets around these areas. They will then be encouraged to seek out support from their subject teachers, and if they need more detailed information or explanation or feedback, so they can map out their own personal learning journeys. So what you're going to find out shortly from my colleagues is how each area of the secondary school are approaching this, and there does have to be some differences and obviously a lot of similarities as well. But however, I'm going to add that without parents making purposeful time to reflect with their children at home, this initiative will simply not work. So we are asking for your support and your wholehearted support, please. So in our new norm, the new way that we've been accustomed to working now for ever since March, essentially, our collaborative effort will ensure children continue to thrive. So at this stage, you're now going to hear from my colleagues, first about how we report in the reporting system and how you can engage with your child's report. And then you will learn more about how we're going to provide opportunities for your child to reflect during their tutor time each week. As I said before, it looks slightly different from year 7 to 13, but the outcomes will always remain the same. Essentially, children being empowered to lead their own learning. I hope you enjoy this session. I want to say thank you for everything that you have done for the school so far this year during incredibly challenging times. We are a strong team, and hopefully after this session, the collaboration, the communication will become even stronger. So at this stage, I'll hand over to Mr. Edward Nutt, the head of Key Stage 4, who's going to talk to you about the reporting process.
Hi, good afternoon, parents, and thank you again for attending this session. I'm just going to go through a little bit about the reports that you've received recently, and she's going to be guiding this document that Ms. Hannah is going to start us off talking about before we then go into Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5. But from our reports and from our questions that we receive, we feel that it's a need to address how you interpret and understand your child's report. And this is basically the template that you receive, and I'm just going to go over it so you can better understand it before we move forward. So this is what you receive on the first page of your report. Obviously at the top left you'll have your child's photo, and then on the top right you'll have the year group of your child, and the one that we just released is the Progress Check 1 report. Below that is your student name and their following details. Slightly below that is their attendance. Now, more so now than ever, the attendance aspect of this report, I feel, is really, really important. Now, I'm not sure how much or how aware you are of your child attending lessons and attending their schooling timetable, but what we are noticing is that students that aren't attending or choosing not to attending lessons are significantly underperforming, and this is obviously, this is well known throughout school that if students don't attend school, they miss out on vital content. And because of the nature of how we are learning now, if your child missed out on some vital content, they really do fall behind. So it's really important that you take note of this attendance, and if you feel like your child, or if you feel like it's slightly lower than what you expect, please do get in contact with the form teacher of your child, and then they can sort of look into it in greater depth and see how we can help support your child and make sure that they're attending all their schooling. Below that is what the KHGA, what they suggest their attendance should be, and then obviously below that is the signatures of Mr. Plant and Mr. Matthew Bertfield, our CEO Principal. Thank you, Marlene. So here, the next page is obviously probably the most important part of your charge report. And this highlights all the subjects your child is taking. Obviously, if your child is in Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5, you will not see all these subjects. And in Key Stage 3, you might see more of these subjects, or you might not see, depending on what they take. For Progress Check 1, it's really important this is a working grade. And it differs between, again, key stages. Key Stage 3 will mirror the grades E to M system, which we'll be talking about in a second. And then Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5 will either be 9 to 1 or U to A, depending on what examination board they are taking. What it is important to note in this Progress Check 1 grade is that these are currently working at grade. Now, if they're currently working at a grade, that means it can fluctuate depending on what your child is studying. So your child might be very, very confident in one area of this given content of a course, but the next one they might not be so confident on. And you might see a slight dip in this Progress Check 2. So if you do see that, that would therefore highlight for you to have a discussion about what your child has been studying recently, and then how you can improve that, making sure your child is reaching out to the correct teaching staff. And obviously, if you would like to speak to them as well, arrange a meeting via an email. The learning skills aspect of the report is essentially how your child is learning throughout their time here at GEMS Founders. Again, this can fluctuate, and it's very, very difficult for us at the moment, this learning skills aspect of the report, partly because the majority of students are online. And if your student is not confident, or a child is not confident in coming on to speaking, it's very, very hard for us to gauge their learning in their lessons. So please, if you could also have a discussion with your child about being able to confident or being able to approach teachers and making sure they are doing so if they are stuck or having problems, so we can address these. And the learning skill, again, is something to take note of. But again, if you've got any questions or any problems with that, then again, contact the form teacher and they can put you in the right direction. Thank you, Marlene. Now, these are the last 2 pages of the report, and this is really important you read through both these pages. It's going to help you understand sort of the grading system and an initiative that we are obviously working through, which I hope you've heard of, which is HPL. So on the left-hand side, understanding your child's progress report. This is different depending on the key stage. As I said, this will highlight the different grades depending on which key stage your child is in, and it really goes into depth about what the grading system is. As I said, that pathway can fluctuate. Your grades might go up and down for each child. However, this really does highlight exactly where they're at that point. So if you do have any questions about the grades, make sure you read this part of the report. And then if you want any further clarification, you can get in touch again with the form teacher and they'll be able to direct you in the right places. But it is really, really important you do read through that part of the report. And then on the right hand side is the HPL initiative we are currently running. Again, taking some time to read through this about how we are beginning to move into this HPL journey. Well, we've moved into it and we're starting to embed this HPL journey. Obviously, we've been presented with many challenges as we moved on to online learning. But again, this highlights what we are doing in school. And again, what we are doing to help your child progress with their journey here at GEMS Founders. So I'm now going to hand over to Ms. Hannah, who's going to discuss the document that we are going to be using over the next sort of couple of terms and your child's going to be engaging with to help them progress. So over to you, Hannah. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you again for joining us this afternoon to talk through this really important process for our learners. So I'm just going to go through the different parts of the document. As Mr. Ian said at the start, it will look slightly different for each key stage, but generally the same theme going through. So firstly, on the front page here, I've created a step-by-step guide for learners to support them through the document, filling it in correctly and using it to its full advantage. The subject teachers and the tutor will be fully supporting this process, but we want learners to develop ownership of their own progress and target setting. The QR code inserted on the bottom of the document will take learners directly to the assessment criteria and rubrics outlined for each of their subjects. This is where they can examine and highlight the specific steps they would need to take to get to the next level in said subject. Okay, if we can just go to the next one. Thank you, Mylene. So this is the main bulk of the sheet. This is where the input of data and tracking comes from for your child. So the progress and learning skills grade that Mr. Ed has just spoken about on the report, they will be inputted into the first two columns over there on the left. This would be transferred from the report that is uploaded to the GEMS parent portal. And this is why we want to ensure you as parents are involved in this process by having those valuable conversations with your child whenever the report is published. So to help articulate this information going in the columns, we want to make sure they know what to do to improve for their action plan for each subject. So learners will reflect back onto that QR code on the first page and use the assessment rubrics and any marked work that they have, and also any feedback from conversations with teachers they have. And they'll use this information to input what they need to do to improve and what their actions are for each specific subject. So the sheet will be reflected on weekly in each key stage, but specifically for key stage 3, this will be done every Monday in a form time. It is an editable document and the actions can always be reviewed, amended, and then ticked off when complete. As well as in form times, each subject teacher will encourage learners to reflect on their progress sheets at assessment checkpoints throughout lessons in the year 2. So we really look forward to this process, encouraging conversations at home. When you share your child's report with them, having a motivating reason for them to look through their report and reflect on this sheet, and for them to hopefully exceed their targets. This process will ensure that all learners take ownership on their progress, and we really want to thank you in advance for supporting their ongoing review of this sheet. So I'm now going to pass back to Mr. Ed, who will talk about the slight differences with this form in Key Stage 4. Thank you.
So within Key Stage 4, as you can see, the document is very, very similar to what you've seen in Key Stage 3. The slight amendments is that we've got an end of year target at the end here, which students will be able to get from their subject teachers, and this is really important for them to see what they are aiming for at the end of the year. And then here you can see there are hyperlinks. These hyperlinks link straight through to the exam specification for their given exam board, and I also think this would be really beneficial when your child does receive this document, for you to go away and also look through the exam specification so you can see the content that is being taught at GEMS Founder School as they move through their IGCSE journey. But apart from that, it's very, very similar. There is a slight difference at the bottom, thank you, Mylene, where we have got this section for Unifrog and revision techniques. So at the moment, Key Stage 4 are very much engaged with Unifrog, looking at their career pathways and where the choices that they want to make as they move forward through to A levels and beyond. And it's just a reflection on what they've been doing and what they want to do next, what unis they've looked at and how they're going to get there. Below that is revision techniques. We've had a huge focus on revision techniques, particularly with the Year 11 mocks, and we want to start to integrate that into Year 10. And it will be a good place for them to record and make note of techniques that has worked for them and anything they want to try in the future, or anything they've come across as they reflect weekly on what they've achieved. And again, thank you very much for engaging this in advance. We do really hope you do have these conversations with your child at home, as it's really, really important for their progress. I'm now going to hand over to Ms. Kelsey, who's going to discuss Key Stage 5's version of this document.
Okay, so hopefully you can see again very similar themes coming through this document. There are some differences again to prepare our Year 12 and 13 students on their journey to university or beyond. So first of all, we have the exam board column, and what we really want to encourage is very similar within Key Stage 4, our students and parents to engage directly with the documentation provided by the exam board for the subjects that your child is sitting. Okay, they can provide the course documentation for the specifications, exam information, specimen questions, and so on. So a really important part of this document is your child and yourself engaging directly with the information from them. Very similarly, we have our progress check grade and learning skill, which comes from the report that you will have received. The aspirational grade, which based on our HPL philosophy at the moment, learners should be aiming for the highest possible grade. So about them looking at the expectations for that grade and encouraging them to reflect on where they are against that grade that they want to achieve. A grade required for university. So many of our students have already done research on what university they would like to go to in the future, what courses they believe they would like to study. So might have an idea of the grade that they will need to achieve to meet those entry requirements. And the rest of the document is the same. So looking at specific targets based on the course expectations and the exam expectations for each of their subjects, and how are they going to improve on those areas. And putting that into their action plan, whether that be discussing key things with teachers, organising meetings, practising exam technique, using their guided reading, whatever those actions may be to help them achieve the improvements that they have set for themselves based on their own personal reflections. Okay, thanks, Mylene. This part of the document, so the second part, is what differs mainly from Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. And we have a section on additional skills, and what we're really encouraging here is learners to identify skills that they have worked on through different initiatives that they have been involved with. It might be as part of student leadership, it could be as an extracurricular activity, it might be something that they're doing out with school, where they are developing skills such as communication, teamwork, leadership skills, time management, and so on, that they can then include in university personal statements or applications. Okay, and it could be that they are hoping to develop certain skills in the next term, that they can start to develop an action plan in this first initial reflection. We then have a university section, which is very similar to Key Stage 4, where we want learners to identify where in their application journey or they're deciding about their courses are they at that particular time. And we do understand these are going to be flexible, so this is a working document that learners will be engaging with on a weekly basis to update, to change, to adapt, and to encourage those conversations, whether that be with yourself or with a careers counsellor or with a member of staff, to help them and guide them to make sure that they are successful and can reach the goals they need for university or wherever they want to go in the future. I just want to take time again, say thank you and encourage you to really engage with this document and your child. This will give you a really good idea on where their skills are, what universities they are really interested in, and open up those conversations so that we can better support your child in achieving what they really want to, and encourage you to be involved in the whole process from the beginning of year 12 to the end of year 13 and moving on from GFS. So thank you in advance, and I'll just pass back to Mr. Ian to finish off the meeting.
Thank you very much, colleagues, for the very succinct but very important information that you've provided this afternoon. And thank you to all of the parents that have attended this afternoon. There is one question that has come through, an important question which I will answer now directly. And thank you to the parent that sent it through. And it was talking about what absence means or absenteeism with regards to attendance. So this is regards to all students, whether the students are studying in school, whether they've got a blended learning model where they come to school one day but not the next, or they're at home 100%. The attendance is marked the same, okay? And it's about the attendance in form time, obviously, in the morning. That's a very good gauge for our form tutors and our heads of year and our heads of key stage to understand if students are ready and prepared for their learning, but also then to track each student throughout each individual lesson so that we can see trends appearing. So to answer the question to the parent who asked this, yes, it's lesson by lesson. Yes, it is absolutely essential that your child does attend every single session, like the Key Stage leaders rightly said, engages in that session as well on a day-to-day basis. So thank you for the question, and I hope that has answered it. So to recap, we've explored why our collaborative leadership and relationships are so important in the successful growth of all learners in the secondary school at GFS. We have identified reasons behind the need to encourage children to lead their own learning journey more effectively. We've then looked at and been taken through how this process takes place in each key stage within the secondary school. And this covers two parts of the diagram that is on every page of this webinar, which are the students and teachers. Now it is really essential to form that new weekly habit at home if this doesn't happen already. And I know that lots and lots of parents on a daily basis do engage with their children very well, but this will add structure to it to support you and your children. So by the time the next parent-teacher conference comes around, you should feel as knowledgeable as every teacher that your child works with. And this is most certainly not about you doing a teacher's job. Okay, I really need to re-emphasize emphasize this point. It is about you supporting us and supporting the teachers, and of course supporting your child. This process is not about teachers making children work harder or doing more or practicing for longer hours. It's completely not that. This is about working as a team, working as a school with parents, and like we keep saying, that keyword, empowering all children to lead their own learning by encouraging the students to reflect regularly and share this information with you at home. Just to finish, I've worked at several different schools around the world, and in all schools, there is always a common theme regarding parent-teacher conferences or parent subject conferences or whatever you want to call them, and that is, by and large, the teachers will provide parents information for approximately 10 minutes, 3 or 4 times over the academic year. And the one person who's missing in these consultations is the student. The student is at the very heart of everything that we do. It's the link between the school and home. And we really need to develop our students to be confident, resilient, and excellent communicators, and to really make sure that everything that they do in school, they are aware of what they need to do better and also what they're doing well. And that's so essential as a sort of a final point from my side. There is one more question, which again, I know we have time because we're penciled into 3:30, so I will certainly answer this question. And thank you for posting it once again, parents. The form will be shared with your child. It is going to be posted in several forums. The Key Stage leaders, the heads of year, the form tutors will communicate this with you, for you to obviously, like you say, understand it, read it, and digest it better. So you will get a copy of this form, and obviously you will become more and more familiar with this form as you engage with your child, as it builds and grows in depth. And it's really, again, essential to not just use this form superficially. It's really essential that the depth and the actual key targets and the strengths and the areas for development are really, really well documented and really well thought through and planned accordingly with parents and teachers and students. So we will share this with you so that you can get a hands-on approach with your child at home. So at this stage, it's 3:30. I thank all parents who have joined the session this afternoon. We all wish you from GEMS Founder School a very, very safe, healthy and happy winter break, whether it be in Dubai or around the world. We hope that you and your families remain safe and well, and we certainly look forward to seeing you in the new year, and we cannot wait, and we continue to hope that we can see all children back in the school sometime soon. Thank you very much from everybody in this forum and from everyone at GFS. Goodbye.